A time of preparation. So last week our focus was to recognize, be aware, watch the pressures of this season, because it is a time of busyness and commotion, and a lot of us do feel the pressure. Be aware of the pressure and question it. Do I really have to? Remember, we prepare for the Prince of Peace. Can I stay in that place of peace, or do I succumb to all that other stuff? Beware the emotional matters that go on in this season of the year. For a lot of people, it's a time of sadness. I think for all of us, at some level, we remember years gone by. So can I be aware of that and embrace the sadness? I'm not going to push it away. And then look for the good, look for the blessing. That is one way to approach these weeks, and to do so with what I would call a perspective of hopefulness. There is good here. I want to celebrate it. Today, our focus is, how may I celebrate these weeks with joy? With joy. And we hear the story, kind of an introduction of the story of John the Baptist, who comes to prepare the way for Jesus. We'll get into that in depth next week. One way that we prepare for Jesus is to live with these moments of joy. And we're going to go back to the reading from last week. 5 maidens are prepared for the celebration, and 5 maidens are what?
No, unprepared.
Unprepared, or 5 maidens are, what's the other word? Foolish. And what is the sign that they're not prepared? What did they not bring? Oil. The message here is bring the oil. Bring the oil. I liken this message from Jesus to be what I call, well, let's put it all backwards. I think many times when we think about Jesus, we understand the grace and the forgiveness of Jesus. And I mentioned this months ago, we turn Jesus into kind of the Pillsbury Doughboy. Always smiling, happy. And we have a tendency to ignore what I call some of the realistic, pointed, and perhaps unpleasant teachings of Jesus. And this story is one of them. This story is one of them. The quote-unquote foolish maidens who don't bring oil are not allowed back into the party. Sorry. You had a chance. It's over. And it's a reminder of another parable of Jesus that has the same kind of pointed message, but also this is an aspect of that parable that we have a tendency to ignore. You remember the parable of the people that are called together, the servants are called together by the master. And the master gives one servant 5 talents, another servant 3 talents, and another servant 1 talent. And the servant with 5 talents takes the money and invests it, and the servant with 3 talents takes the money and invests it, and the servant with 1 talent, what does that servant do with that 1 talent? Buries it, hides it, doesn't want to lose it. The master comes back, calls the servants together. The person with 5 talents says, I invested it, here is your money back, and I made money. And he is commended. The servant with 3 talents, here is your money back, and I invested it, and here it is, I made money. He is commended. Now the talents here are really a symbol of life. This is what I've done with my life. This is what I've done with my gifts. And the first 2 are commended. The third servant who received just 1 talent comes to the master and says, here's your money. I didn't lose anything. And what happens to that servant? Servant's judge. He did the same thing. He's judged. And if we read carefully, it says he is thrown into the outer darkness. That's it. You had a chance. That's real life. That's real life. that there's no replay. There's no video editing. This is it. Those maidens have a chance. Those servants have a chance. Here it is. What are you going to do with it? Well, bring your A game to the party. Bring the oil. Bring the oil. So I have a few examples of this. And the first is really, it's something that we're all living with. And I was reminded of this when I read that one of the leaders, Christian leader, chief executive officer of the Daystar Network. Is everyone familiar with the Daystar Network? It's a conservative TV program, conservative Christian TV program, very conservative. And it has an audience of tens of millions of people who watch this. And one of the leaders, the founder of the program, had week after week, from what I understand, people who are anti-vax on his program. People who touted the dangers of vaccines. People who were against vaccines. Well, lo and behold, this fellow, 60 years old, came down with COVID. And he's dead. Bring your oil to the party. And what's the oil? Get a vaccine. We've read story after story of people in intensive care who did not get vaccinated, and what are their last words? Tell my family to get vaccinated. Tell my family to wear masks. Tell my family that the virus is not a hoax. You wonder, when you hear that, whether that is the equivalent of the maidens saying, we wish we had brought the oil. We wish we had brought the oil, but we weren't prepared. And what happens? There's no replay for that man who died at the age of 60 from COVID. There's no replay for the people that have died because they did not get vaccinated. Vaccination is no guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. But there's no replay. So the message here is bring the oil. Because what happens? When we bring the oil, what it does is it enhances the party. It enhances life. That's what Jesus taught. Jesus taught, I've come that you may have abundant life. We have life. I'm going to give you life in abundance. I'm sure there are people who will sit outside the party and say, I'm just fine the way it is. Right? I'm just fine. It could be so much better. Right? Bring the oil. So what does it mean to bring the oil? So I have a couple examples. Here's the first one. It's a personal example. I get here on Mondays, and I try to get here real early in the morning. Last Monday I got here at 7. I have a meeting. I try to get everything done for the week if I can, or as much as possible. It came to 1:30, and I was tired. I didn't have too much pop. I didn't have any zip. I looked in the office, and there was my little bag. It's filled with my running stuff. I said, I don't want to do that. I want to go home, maybe take a nap. I'm hungry. It's cold out. If I don't want to get sick, I may trip and fall. I may have a heart attack. I can come up with a million excuses not to do this. So I put on the stuff, and I was going over to the steps, to run the steps at the ski slope. I was going over there, and I said, well, if someone else is doing this, I'll do it. But otherwise, I'm not going to do it. I thought there's a drug problem in Brattleboro. Maybe someone's passed out under the stairs and going, my goodness, I'm going up, and I'm really going to get hurt. I'm not going to do this. Maybe the steps are still frozen because it was cold. I'm not going to do this. Well, I ended up having, doing more and faster than I've ever done it before. The point is, there's a party next summer. And I'm never going to get to the finish line unless I bring oil. You got to bring the oil. You got to bring the oil. Don't bring the oil, and you're not going to get to the finish line. So going over there is just bringing some oil. That's all it is. Bring the oil. I have a buddy, had a job, quit his job, went to a different career for 20 years, retired. In retirement, he said to himself, I want to go back to my original job, but I don't have fresh training. He easily could have gone and taken the tests and qualified, but he decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go through a 2-week training program to brush up on these old skills. What's that called? It's called bringing the oil. Bringing the oil to the party. That's what that is. So he brought the oil to the party, went through the training program, has a job, and loves it. Bringing the oil to the party. Had he showed up without that background, very easily they might have said, sorry, no room for you. We're called to bring the oil. Another friend of mine, actually my son, our son, 35 years old. Good job reviews, good raises, good promotion, 35 years old. Decides, I've got this promotion, I'm going to take it. He's working 9 hours a day, working 10 hours a day. Decides, I'm getting home tired. I'm getting home exhausted. I'm getting home, I've got nothing for the children, for my wife. And so what did he do? He decided, I'm going to bring the oil home. Went to his boss and said, I'm not doing this 10-hour day thing anymore. I want to make sure that I have oil when I come home to the party. Otherwise, I'm not allowed in. And I don't experience the joy of the party. If you think about this for a moment, I've had a number of conversations with people about this, with a business owner and with a venture capitalist. And the venture capitalist sits on about 5 or different boards of directors for companies. And he said, one of the problems right now is all these companies are looking for workers and they can't find them. You see all the help wanted ads all over the place. The venture capitalist said it's all because of the stimulus checks. The business owner said the same thing. It's all because of the stimulus checks. People will be given free money. And I thought to myself, just how long do you think people live on these stimulus checks? It's not as if you get $1,000 or $2,000 and all of a sudden you can just live for 5 years on a stimulus check. So that was interesting. But then we have reports coming out this week that one of the problems in the labor force right now is that 1.5 million people that are 60 to 65 and 70 decided, I'm done. They retired. And they retired during what is called the COVID mortality moment. Does anyone want to take a stab at what the COVID mortality moment is? This is my suggestion. COVID forced people to stop. And when they stopped, they said, what am I doing with my life? And I don't want to go back to that job. And I have enough money to retire. I want to bring the oil to my life. I don't want to go back there. That happened to my wife and I. We decided to move. Done with this. Not going to go there. That's called bringing the oil to the party of life. So why do we have a problem? We have a problem because a lot of people woke up. What is it, sister? Where's that reading? It says, a lot of people kept watch, woke up, and decided, I'm bringing oil to this party. I'm bringing oil to it. And when we bring the oil to the party, what is that? That's an invitation to living with a bit of joy. Instead of going along with the same old, and the same old patterns, instead of, I call it coasting through life, instead of settling, people decide, no, I'm not going to settle, I'm not going to coast. I'm bringing oil to the party. That's what happened during the COVID thing. People decided, I'm just not going to go back to the same old routine. That's just not for me. If I don't have to do that, I'm bringing oil. What a great spiritual moment. That's what happened. Our son decided, I'm bringing oil to my party. I'm not just going to go through the routine of getting advancements and having to do more and more work. That's just not for me. Each one of us has that opportunity every day. I call it bringing your A game to today. Bringing your A game to the party. I want to live with oil in my life today. I'm not going to go through the motions. What happened to the maidens that were foolish? They just got stuck in old patterns and didn't live with that kind of alertness and awareness. But the wise ones said, hey, we want to be ready. We're bringing the A game. Brothers and sisters, there's joy. Bring oil. Bring oil to your lamp. That is one marvelous way to prepare for the celebration of Christmas. I'm bringing oil to my day because there's joy today and I want to see it be a part of it. Thank you for your attention. In Jesus' name. Amen.